so we're here with Dr. Bobby Bonner, and he is pastor, evangelist, missionary, author, and former professional baseball player. And did I miss anything in that?
I'm a legend in my own mind.
In your own mind. But I will say this just before we get going, one of my heroes and mentors. And there are actually two people that in my ministry life career that I said I would just like to follow them around the world, carry their luggage and their baggage just to be next to them. And one was Dr. Clyde Box, and you knew Dr. Box, and the other one was you from the day I met you. Just an honor and a privilege to just be able to really just stand there and be in your shadow more than anything, and the friendship of the families has just been a pleasure and a joy. And so, but you are an author. You wrote From Diamond to the Bush, right? And,
I did, yes. My wife begged me for years just to put something down, my kids, and then of course having 14 grandkids now, they don't know about me. So, I find the older I get, the better I was. So my wife wanted me to put some things down and some story, and I'm not a writer, so I sat there with two fingers, just doing that, and really it was during my heart attack. 8 years ago, I suffered that big, massive heart attack, had a valve replacement. So I was on my back for about 11 months recouping. And so during that time, my wife was on me. And then, of course, Dr. Ray out in College, California, Mike Ray, called me up and said, Bobby, put something down. I could have put a lot more in there. I just didn't. I just did it for my wife, really.
Right. But because I know you're in Missouri now. Missouri is kind of home, but Texas was kind of where it all started.
Absolutely.
So born in Texas?
Born, raised in Texas. You can tell a Texan, you just can't tell him much.
That's right.
And so, no, it's definitely true. Born out West Texas, Uvalde, raised on a little goat ranch out there, and all my family are goat ropers and ranchers, and on my mom's side, hillbillies. And so I was the first one to go off to college at that particular time.
And from college, I guess, where did baseball start? I mean, Little League, something your dad drove you to play, something you were just interested in? Were there other sports that kind of came before baseball? Or how did the whole love for baseball thing start?
Well, it all started with the word ball. My mama said that the first word I ever said was ball. It wasn't dad, it wasn't mama. Before I could even walk, I was rolling balls, and they'd go under the bin, and I'd cry till somebody went in and got, a ball out for me. But I had two older brothers that were tremendous athletes. As a matter of fact, they're in the Texas High School Hall of Fame for football, both of them. And so I wanted to follow in their path. So I played football and had 4 knee operations before I got out of high school. And but I had a strong arm. And played baseball, with my cousins living in Lakey, Texas, population 390 people. It's hard to put together a baseball team, so we played with rocks and that type of thing. And then we moved to Corpus Christi when I was 11. And so I began to play Little League when I was 11, and I grew up so fast. I was tall, I was thin, and just sort of dominated the other Little Leaguers. So my confidence level went through the roof. And so people thought I was pretty cocky, and I was. Okay, and so, but all of a sudden I just played football, played basketball, ran track, played baseball, whatever sport came up, that's where I was. And but my senior year in high school, my baseball coach said to me, you have an opportunity. I said, what do you mean? He said, you'll probably be drafted out of high school by a professional team. I was drafted by the Montreal Expos out of high school, and as a pitcher, because they didn't think I could play shortstop having 4 knee operations, but I had a very strong arm. And so I received a bunch of scholarship offers. University of Texas offered me a scholarship to pitch, and I didn't want to pitch. I wanted to play shortstop. So Texas A&M came down and offered me a full ride at A&M. So I went there for 4 years to play shortstop. My junior year, I was drafted in the 9th round by the Kansas City Royals. But I wanted to finish out my senior year, and then I was drafted by the Orioles in 1978 in the 3rd round.
And just if I remember right, you're in the A&M Hall of Fame.
That is correct.
So there's a jersey hanging up there in their little...
At their stadium there, baseball stadium, they have a hallway with all the guys that have made it to the big leagues and that were elected to the Texas
So
A&M
anybody
Hall of
that
Fame.
goes down to A&M, they'll see your jersey there and your picture.
You
hanging
know,
up
they
there
will
on the
see
wall.
that. I had a chance
awesome.
a couple years ago. My oldest grandson and one of my son-in-laws, we went there. So we went to see the Aggies get beat by Alabama, the football game. And so we took a tour, and I still stay in touch with some of those guys at A&M.
Awesome. So fast forwarding now, you get drafted. You played AAA ball, right?
I did.
We're in New York.
Rochester, New York, AAA ball at that particular time for the Baltimore Orioles.
Gotcha.
So I was a yo-yo up and down from 1980 to 83. So for 4 years, I was up and down. We had the strike in 81. I was in the show in 81 till the strike. But the day before the strike, I went into Earl's office, Earl Weaver, and asked him if they would send me down because I didn't, I got a wife, couple kids. You don't get paid during the strike. In those days, we didn't make a lot of money. So they sent me down to the minor leagues to play. And that's when I got a chance to play in the longest game in the history of baseball. I played 33 innings.
That's right. I remember that.
So
Yeah.
that game's-
Rochester versus.
Pawtucket Red Sox.
Yeah. And so you're actually in the record books.
I'm in the record book. I played the longest game. I went 0 for 5, got hit with a pitch, walked, went 0 for 4, and went 3 for 3 in the same game.
Yeah. Awesome.
One guy on the other team, he struck out 7 times. I remember the next day somebody yelled out, "Hey Larrabee, you had a bad week last night."
Bad week.
Anyway, it was a crazy game. It'll never be broken. And when I was a kid, I had a dream. My dream was to be in the Hall of Fame. And I didn't make it as a long career. I made it in some fluke game. If you go up to Cooperstown, there's the display of the longest game. And
so not only are you in the A&M Hall of Fame, you're actually in the Baseball Hall of Fame for playing in the longest game.
The longest game. And so I learned you got to be specific when you ask God for things. Okay, so he did give me the desire of my heart, but some weird game, that seemed to never end.
Well, I know baseball was a great part of your life, but we kind of want to fast forward through that because we know God did a great work in your life. And I was kind of reading through, and I read through your book, but I came across this little thing here in the book, and that I thought was interesting part of your career when you played for Earl Weaver. Definitely not, very famous manager, but not known for his Christian ethics. And so I wonder if you could first kind of read a little portion of what you wrote in your book. It says, a friend of mine, Michael Cerame, am I saying that right? Cerame called from New York on the 1st of December to tell me the news. He said, "Bobby, I'm sorry about what has happened." He says, "You're puzzled by his statement and tone." I responded, "Sorry." He said, "What are you talking about, man? We won." He mentioned that the Orioles roster was listed in the newspaper and that my name was not recorded. And then it goes on to say, not only was your name not recorded, but you weren't getting a ring and you weren't getting paid. And so I was wondering if you can just kind of move that up to when you got saved. Tell us about how you got saved, how you accepted Jesus, a little bit of your testimony going into professional baseball. And obviously it was not a popular decision in pro ranks to be a Christian as far as a walk with the Lord and testimony goes.
Well, I signed professionally in June draft of 1978. I was not a saved man. I was 21 years of age. I played my first year of professional baseball in AA with the Orioles and had an injury. Hurt my back very, very bad. And my career, they thought, might be over. And at that particular time, my wife was pregnant with our second child. My wife had gotten saved when she was 14 and backslid away from God and married me. And so when I came home for the surgery, because my wife went into labor about 2.5 months early, and she almost died, the baby almost died. Well, I came home in August to see her because I was summoned home. Baby was due in October, and my wife just grabbed me by the hand as she's going into the operating room, said, "Everything's going to be okay. God's in control." And I kind of looked at her and I go, "Well, I didn't know what she was talking about." So, make a long story short, after we got them both home, after several weeks in the hospital, and the baby was miraculously saved, and God had His hand upon Chrissy, and my wife, her life was changed, and I said, "Well, who are you?" And she said, "Well, I'm a Christian." And I said, "Well, when did that happen?" And she said, "Well, when I was 14." I said, "Wait a minute, we've been married for 4 years. What's this all about?" She said, "Well, I was backslidden when I married you, and of course I didn't know what backslide was. I was your basic boogerhead growing up, but I wasn't a fool. I believed there was a God. I just didn't believe He could love me. I didn't believe I could have a relationship with a God. Why would He want me?
Right.
And but again, like I said, I wasn't a fool. I just believed if I died, I would go to hell. And so my wife began to pray for me. So I came home after my first year of pro ball. My wife was going to church all the time there in Bryan, Texas. I would go to sleep at night and I would wake up and I'd feel two hands on me, and my wife would be in our bed with her hands praying that God would save my soul. God would save my soul. Please save my husband. And so I finally agreed to go to church with her. The church in the area was having a revival meeting. They had like a tent meeting. And I went on that Sunday morning and I heard the gospel. And I heard that Jesus died for my sins, and He was buried and He rose again from the dead. And if I would place my faith and trust in Him and call upon Him to save me, be willing to turn from that and turn to Him, He would save me and I'd get to go to heaven. And so I was at the altar about an hour just weeping, begging God to save my soul. And so God saved me that day.
Amen.
I came out of there. I didn't know anything. I didn't know the books of the Bible. I didn't know it really, but I knew I was once blind, but now I see. I was at war with myself, and now I have peace. And there was a change. So right away, I just began to tell all my friends at A&M, I got saved. From what? I got saved. My sins are gone. I trusted Jesus. Well, they all left me. It was like, I went, they don't want to hear what just took place in my life. This is the greatest. God's restored my marriage. God saved my soul. And so my older brother, one of my older brothers called me and told me he had just got saved, trusted Christ. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, well, I'm going to go to Africa as a missionary. And then he asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to go back and try to be a testimony for Jesus. I'm going to use my platform with the Orioles to, every chance I get, tell people about Jesus. So for the next 6 years, that's what I did. So when I went back to spring training that first year, all my drinking buddies, I'm carrying a Bible. I have it in my locker room. And what happened to you?
Yeah.
What happened to you? So we started little Bible studies, and little by little, ball players started getting saved. And then I was just searching for the truth, Brother Mark. I never really went to church, and so playing ball, you don't get to go to church on Sunday. So you have a baseball chapel maybe in your room, or you gather for prayer, or maybe in the off season you'll try to find a church. But I was always playing ball. I was always an instructional league or winter ball. So and I didn't know what a Baptist was. I didn't know what a Methodist was. I didn't know what a Catholic was. Denominations, to me, I thought everybody.